So hi everyone. Today I am here with Kim. We are about to reveal one of the more extraordinary stories I've encountered in my work in the space of radical holism. And, a lot of people ask me, is this approach and protocol for men? Is it for children? What about old people? And in my practice, I work with women, and actually a fairly narrow demographic. The women that I work with are somewhere from 22 to 55, I would say. And I know that this approach has, the desired outcome in that, population, but I don't treat children in my practice. I have to, who live by the principles that I espouse, obviously, and I don't treat men. So it's only through Vital Mind Reset that I've learned about the potential impact of these principles for, whole other populations. And, Kim is, from everything I've observed in our private Facebook group, an intrepid mama. And she embodies the qualities that natively as mothers we do, which is a relentlessness and a perseverance around the care and protection of our children. And the trouble is, right, that we can be captured in a system that promises us, safety, and promises us stability, and promises us the kind of care we think we're looking for our children. And sometimes we have to learn through the challenges in that system that there has to be a better way. So I want to talk about, Kim, why you got to the point of, working through the steps of Vital Mind, why it was that you did it, and if you could sort of shed light on what sort of breaking point, I guess, led you to even consider doing a program like this. Let's maybe start there.
By age 10, we were living on a small island off the coast of Scotland. And by age 10, I knew something was wrong. And I couldn't, it was just my gut feeling. So I took them back to Australia to try and get more help. And on the plane, he developed tics, like eye tics. And mistakenly, I took him to a pediatrician, more mother blaming, and that's where it started. By age 14, they put him on medication then for the tics. And then they started putting him on antipsychotics when the tics got worse and became Tourette's. And then by age 14, he was crazy. He was psychotic. He was on top of the fridge seeing cats. Each week he was changing, and they couldn't pinpoint what it was. So they put him in hospital for observation for 3 days. It was bad. They drugged him to the eyeballs. It was an 180k round trip for me, leaving my other son at home. And from there, it just got worse. Then he got transferred down to Sydney. He was there for a year, and he was diagnosed with chronic treatment-resistant paranoid schizophrenia, Asperger's, Tourette's, epilepsy from the medication, anxiety and depression, and that was such a bad time. They said he's the worst patient they've ever had in there. It was a young person's unit, and he would go into hospital every winter. So the longest he was ever out of hospital since he was 14 was 8 months maximum. It's usually around the 5-month mark. So anyway, by now it was just bad. It just kept getting worse and worse. He begged to go to hospital. They were saying there were no beds. It was just a mess. Then the consultant psychiatrist wanted to put him on lithium. He's already on clozapine, Obica, and he had a protein leak in his heart. He had fatty liver disease. He was pre-diabetic, everything, and he wanted to put him on lithium. There was no reason why he should be on lithium, and that's when we said no. So then we got the junior doctors, and the junior doctors looked and said, no, he shouldn't be on lithium. And then over a period of time, they said, none of these drugs are working.
Right.
Maybe we've got the diagnosis wrong. So they started talking about getting him off the meds, and that's when I was excited, because I thought, this is what I've been waiting for. As soon as they said that, I was like, wow. And my friend had lent me your book, and she'd been sending your posts on to me. And so that's when I knew I could change his life. I had hope again. I mean, by this stage, he was in his bedroom. He hadn't left the house. We'd moved to the mainland. He hadn't left the house except to go and get his monthly blood tests. And that was a nightmare. I had to lock the cars. He had tinfoil on his head. He thought he had to kill people. He had to kill me. He had to kill the dog. Yeah, it was bad. This, you can see, is his coding, and he would code from music, from just, I don't know where the codes were coming from, but he would spend hours scribbling these codes. He was just incredibly unwell. He was medicated. He would sleep. On a good day, if I got him up by 1 o'clock, if I held his nose, I could wake him up. And yeah, it's bad. He had no life. But when they suggested that we get him off the meds, I was just so excited. Because, when he was 14, they drugged him, and all the nurses were saying, get him off these meds and get him out of here. But I was scared. I thought these people were meant to help me. I didn't know. I was scared of him. He needed to kill his brother. I totally trusted them. I totally believed that they knew better than me. So anyway, I snuck in high-dose nicotinic acid, and within 24 hours, he got out of the locked ward and up buying hot chips. So I knew that there was another alternative. I knew, but when there were so many meds in the system, I knew I'd given up hope. So it got to the point where he was praying to, now he's 20. He was praying to die every night, and when I woke him up for his meds, he would say, am I still here? And I'd say, yeah, you're still here. And he goes, oh, God. And it was painful to watch. It was painful. I had no life. I couldn't leave the house. If I had to run and go and get the meds and the groceries, he would phone me having hallucinations. He sees a man with a gun who chases him. He gets spiders all over him. He can smell petrol. Just every hallucination going. He would rip off all his clothes and scratch his skin raw because of the bugs crawling all over him. And this man with the gun had been with him since he was 14, he had a black top hat, and would chase him and try and kill him. And he said, you don't understand what it's like. I have 16 voices screaming at me to kill you, telling me that you have to die, that you'd be better off, without me. I have to kill myself, just unfathomable stuff. But then when we started, I knew the doctors didn't know how to get him off the meds. So all I was hoping to get from you was some help with tapering. I was hoping secretly, deep down, that it would be more, but just tapering. He was begging me to take him to Switzerland, to Dignitas, for assisted suicide. And I was fully supportive of it. You were my last-ditch attempt. I said, let's just try this, and if it doesn't work, we'll talk about Dignitas. So the doctors agreed that he should come off his meds, but they were also worried about his depression. So they wanted to up his antidepressant. So I said, no, give me a month. Just give me a month. I'm going to put him on this diet. Just give me a month. So I was in a rush to get this diet started, and I was panicking. I couldn't source the products over here. I was like, ah. So all we did was the diet. That's as far as we've got. But we started in January. I started cleaning out the cupboard slowly. He went gluten-free, milk-free from sort of then, but sort of just still trying to get stuff out of the house. I put him fully on the research on March 1st, but we had to go to the psych on March 2nd. She was a new junior doctor. She wanted to section him. She ran to the boss. She was freaked out because he said that I need to kill everyone. I need to kill the next door neighbour. I need to hop on a bus and slash everyone's necks. And he was distressed. He doesn't kill insects. He doesn't kill anything. He's the softest, sweetest boy. So this hospital, his whole admissions have been abusive by nurses, bullying. They broke a disc in his spine when he was 14 in a restraint. You name it, it's happened to him because he's so gentle, and they pick on him because he opens doors for cleaners. He's so kind. He will do anything for anybody, and people take advantage of that. By March 16th, he asked to come out in the car. He had never been anywhere except to go and get bloods, and we went for a 3-hour drive. By the end of April, we booked a mini break so that he wanted to go to the forest. He hadn't even been where we live. He hadn't even walked where we lived, and he was coming for walks at 8 o'clock in the morning with me. He got his camera out. He loves photographing, and he's got his camera out. We went into the forest for 3 days on this mini break. He was talking with people. He was amazing. By 4 weeks, he had joined a gym and given up smoking. And it's just been totally miraculous. Like, no one can believe it. No one can believe it. It's, I don't know what else to say. It's amazing.
It's, I read this article recently on euthanasia in Belgium for mental illness, and for me that was the first time I had ever encountered the reality that you can get to a point of hopelessness around the chronic nature of ongoing symptoms in the setting of treatment, right? So we call it treatment resistance, but that you can get to a point where that is the only thing that makes sense, and obviously, that my passion is informing people, right? So if you know that there is this other way, you will feel either called to it or you'll continue on your conventional path. And it sounds like all that you needed was to know that some other methodology was out there.
And the opportunity.
And you made it happen.
I knew that, but I thought he was going to die. Either the medication would kill him, or he would kill him. I honestly thought he would kill himself, or we'd go to Dignitas, because I wouldn't put my dog through what he was going through.
Wow.
So he wanted Coke, and I never had Coke in the house. He wanted a packet of crisps every day, and I allowed it.
Yeah.
Because I thought he would. But now it's so much better, because this is the type of food I love. This type of food that feels good. You feel like you're nourishing your body. It's amazing. So
and he's on board. So at this point, he's on board, right?
Well, he wanted to die, so he would have tried anything. I said, you'll probably hate me for taking everything away. And do you know what he says? I don't miss anything.
Wow.
I don't miss anything. He loves the food. And I said, you can have anything you want. We just vary it. And you can have anything you want. In fact, our diet is sweeter in terms of your smoothie. Like, that's quite sweet now.
Yeah. Right.
I would never have had a smoothie because, too fattening, too unhealthy. It's amazing.
Flipping the script. Yeah, I mean, I joke with patients that it's not like I'm asking you to go on a 30-day juice fast. It's actually food that's intended to taste good. You can use natural salt liberally. It should be filling. It should be savory. And then there's natural sweetness that comes back into your palate. And, it really is just a food diet. And what we're doing is clearing the slate of a lot of potentially addictive substances, right? But then also this yo-yo effect on the immune system, which I would imagine was no small part of what was being labeled as mental illness in his case. I mean, not to sort of jump down a rabbit hole, but I have a lot of concerns around vaccination and early exposure to pharmaceutical products in stimulating these neurodegenerative processes in children that actually we can heal. That's the extraordinary reality, is that this kind of radical healing is possible. And I love learning that you haven't even done all of the parts yet.
And you know what? We're just starting. And he went horse riding today. And he's going to the gym at 9:30 tomorrow. But he's taking himself off all these meds. We're tapering it after we've done the reset. He's on 1.5 antipsychotics. The next one's clozapine, Clozaril. That's the next reduction after we get off Lortia. When we get off that one, then we're doing clozapine. Then we're going to test for epilepsy, and then hopefully get him off the epilepsy medication and the antidepressant, and then he's clean.
It sounds like, I love that he asked to go to the forest, because it sounds like there's not only a deep desire to reconnect with something that makes sense on a soul level, to him, but I imagine that a kind of relationship to a contemplative practice or meditation, breathing, will become important, as he begins to wake up. I mean, that's basically what you're describing. It's extraordinary.
Totally waking up. And the coffee enemas were amazing. I was freaking out. I was like, there's no way he's going to do this. I was just like, oh my God. So I did one, and I gave him a full description. And I said, this is you have to do this. If you want to get better, you have to do this. And he did it, and he was asking for them. He said, they make you feel amazing. He said, they really fix your mood. He said, they make me feel really good. So he does them regularly, every day. He loves them.
So it's almost like he's being drawn to the things that will ultimately help support this process that he now feels, hopeful about connecting to. It's like he's going to guide the ship rather than having to be coerced. It's so powerful for someone who's been disempowered for the greater part of his adult life.
And that's it. He's finding his voice. He's standing up for himself. He's never stood up for himself. And someone smoked in front of him, and he said, I need to speak to that person about smoking in front of me. It's not okay. And I was like, oh, yes. Because he's been walked on, he's been mistreated, and both of us have bowed down to the professionals who have mistreated both of us. And it's just amazing. I cannot believe how amazing. Not only have I got my son back, I have got a massively better version of my son. It's amazing. And he thanks me every day for helping him, and he says, Kelly Brogan saved my life. And he said, I've never been happy. I've never, ever been this happy. I love life. He can't wait to start the day. He can't wait. He's like, right, what's on the agenda today? Right, okay, come on, let's go. And he's in the car waiting, ready to go. He's going to get his driver's license. He wants his independence. He wants to maybe become a heavy goods, like a truck mechanic. He's just like...
He's got big plans. It's amazing.
5 weeks this week that we've solidly done the food part. And I cannot wait till we go fully into this.
What has been the reaction on the part of the conventional treaters that you're working with? Are you feeling supported in the taper process? Because that obviously could be very challenging.
Only because they agreed, the last junior doctor agreed to reduce the meds, so they got the GP on board. That was all good. That was sort of set in stone. But they don't believe in coffee enemas. They Googled it. He talked about the GP spoke about all the dangers of coffee enemas, and my son said, no, I don't care. I don't care what the dangers are. They're brilliant. They can't believe it. They're waiting for him to fall.
Yeah, right. They're saying it's temporary. Yeah. I mean, it's natural, right? Because when there's evidence of something that flies in the face of your dogmatic belief system, you have to explain how it could be, right? So there has to be either it's temporary or, it's evidence of mania. A lot of my patients have been told that. And of course, now years later, I have experience to know that these changes are sustainable and lead to only further and further healing. And it's interesting about the coffee enemas because, you know, I think that I only know about coffee enemas as somebody who is a natural skeptic because of Nick Gonzalez. And you know, he would show me, he showed me the Merck manual that he had in his office from 1970, and coffee enemas were in the Merck manual. He showed me a paper from New England Journal of Medicine in 1952 where coffee enemas were the only intervention used for acutely psychotic schizophrenics who were discharged 2 weeks later. And he said, you know, this used to be part of the conventional medicine armamentarium until, you know, the pharmaceutical industry, you know, sort of became really dominant. But it's on some level, you know, you've probably introduced a ripple effect of, you know, discomfort on the part of these providers, which is not a bad thing. You know, discomfort helps us to grow. And so maybe they'll become curious over time. But it's also, right, not your job necessarily to force the match, the union, you know?
I can't help but spread the word. I can't help. I wrote a letter to the psych. When she wanted to section him, I said, we're going away. Instead of coming to see you, we're going away on the mini break. You know, what you did was really unhelpful. And if the consultant was any type of consultant, he would be on the phone asking me what's going on to try and understand, to help other patients.
Yeah.
So I'm cranky, and I'm and people are asking me that they see a difference in me as well, and they are asking me what's going on, and I am so quick to tell everyone.
Well, so I want to talk about this because, you know, you did this for your son, but there was a surprise, sort of a surprise fringe benefit for you, which I think is just the beauty of this kind of healing, is the side effects are always positive in nature. So, you know, how have you been doing?
I mean, I was drinking gallons. I was self-medicating because I couldn't cut. He would rock. Like, when he was in the lounge room, he would rock all the time, and he couldn't speak. He was so drugged he couldn't speak. He was talking gibberish. I was fighting for help. It's just been a complete mess. But I thought, okay, I can do this for him. I could do anything for my son. I would jump over the moon for my son. But I thought, right, dietary changes, I can do that. I can do that for a month. And then I can go back to coffee, and I can go back to wine and everything. I can do it for a month. I need to set a good example. But we're still eating Reset because we love the food. We don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you, when you buy food and it nourishes your body? And it's so hard to describe. Like, I've always been this person who's would like to eat this way, to believe this way, to talk this way, but I can't because I was belittled as a younger person as being hippie. And so I couldn't justify paying the money for non-chemical chemicals and, you know, beauty products that didn't have massive stuff in, and eating really sort of, I mean, I ate legumes and stuff like that, and that was bad enough. And especially in Scotland, my God. You know, Scotland is just food badness. But this is where I feel like we can start doing it properly now. Start from the start going hard, and I don't even know where we're going to be. I just feel so excited about the future.
It's the most powerful statement, and it's what I always say to the women that I work with, is that, you know, what is coming through this process is something you can't imagine, and that's what makes it magical. You can't imagine it. If you could, then it would just be the reality that you know, right? But in fact, what's coming is so much more expanded. It's like a Rolodex of opportunities where before you only saw 2, for example. And, you know, I love that you've tasted this possibility, and that's enough, you know, to ignite this fire in you. Because, you know, I'm hearing what you're saying, which is that I've always been attracted to this type of lifestyle. But it's like I couldn't own it because I never was able to experience it firsthand as being real. And perhaps, your experience through your son had to get quite this dark and desperate in order to generate an opportunity for you to have an experience of its validity, of the deep validity of this lifestyle and this approach to, self-care. Because otherwise, right, you could have potentially coasted through your whole life never really being totally convinced of something that deep down right? Which is why I always say it's like you're being reminded, or it's like you're remembering something that you've always known. This isn't a new concept.
Feels so right.
Yes.
I mean, it's like I said on one of my posts on Facebook, I just had this brief glimmer, and I just felt like I was coming home. This is who I am, and I've never been who I am. I've always been believing everyone else, believing their opinions over mine, believing everything because I wasn't worth it, and I couldn't do self-care. This reset made you do self-care because you had to do the coffee enemas, and you had to eat well, and you had, body brushing. It forced self-care, and it's so pleasurable. I couldn't, self-care when you're looking after someone was impossible, but when it's in the reset, it's like you have to do this, so it's okay.
It's a medical prescription.
So it's like, it's okay to do it, and the benefits are amazing. I just, and like I said, I'm only just beginning, and I just want more of that coming home. And now, if anyone questions what I'm doing, or calls me a hippie or whatever, I can just say, I'm doing it for my son, and I'm doing it for myself, and that's it.
And so far, so good, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, Kim. I mean, it's just, I can barely even respond, or I'm going to start crying because it's so moving. It really is. It's a level of inspiration that leads me to believe that you and your son have something very important to contribute to the light in this world. We're in such a challenging time, as we all feel. And there's so much wrongness, and your rage and anger is real, and it's valid. But that rage and anger without this experience of hope and inspiration and empowerment is enough to kill you. It's enough to make you sick. And, so you really are lighting a path of possibility that, has impacted me deeply, and I can only imagine what it will do for a mother in a similar position. And there are many to hear your story. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for having the courage to continue putting one foot in front of the other in order to find your truth. It's extraordinary.
I can't thank you enough for putting it out there. And I really hope that more men come on board, because it does put people off, because, and I did have this with my son, that, he wouldn't read the book because I had all girly bits in it,
I know, I'm working on this. So you're absolutely right. And this has been meaningful to me, to see that, why should it be just available to the women I feel here to serve, especially when those women are part of a greater fabric. They have children, they have spouses, they have cousins, aunts, uncles, and so it's a point well taken.
But I think we can just go forward so far from here. It is just the beginning, and the word will get out, because the changes are massive and happen so quickly. So I just can't thank you enough for everything. And we would never have been able to come over and see you. So thank you.
Right, exactly.
Well, he wouldn't have a visa. He's been in a mental hospital. He wouldn't have been able to get a visa into the States. So that alone. So without you putting it out there and cutting out the middleman, it's fantastic. So thank you.
That's music to my ears, truly. So anyway, thank you, Kim.
As my son said, thank you for saving his life. Thanks very much.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.